It's the weekend after Thanksgiving here in the United States, which can only mean two things. One is that we're going to be hearing Mariah Carey until we're sick of it for the next 30 days. And B, that fulfillment center warehouse employees are going to be working overtime for a bit. Hello, all the crazy people out there. My name is Michael. I like wizards and dragons and making games, and let's talk about GameMaker's Package Manager. So some of you may be familiar with how package managers work already. If you've ever used Linux, you probably had to use something like apt or pacman or portage or portage. I don't know how it's pronounced. I've never heard it spoken aloud. There are some programming environments that have their own package managers for delivering extensions. You have probably most famously NPM for Node.js. You have pip for Python. There's gems for Ruby. There's NuGet for .NET and Chocolatey for various other Windows things because Microsoft thinks they're hilarious. In the world of game development, Unity has its own package manager, which you've probably used if you've ever used Unity. And starting in the November of 2024 GameMaker update, GameMaker also now has its own package manager. So probably the most, am I really going to say this? Fine. The most apt comparison for GameMaker's new package manager is going to be the Unity package manager. If you load up the November of 2024 GameMaker betas or any version released after this, you can go into the Windows tab, the Windows menu up at the top of the IDE. Go to the prefab library. And that's going to open up this little bit of UI at the bottom of the screen. Thanks for bugging out on me there, GameMaker. You can click on the Package Manager button, and that is going to open up this fun little window. And for the time being, and there's almost certainly going to be a lot more to this later on, but I think there's enough of it here to warrant making a video now, so we'll work with what we have. For the time being, we have all of the various asset bundles that GameMaker has made for available for download for its users in the last, 2-3 years. I don't know if these are sorted in any particular way. It appears to be, if anything, reverse alphabetical order, which is a little funny. Why is it in reverse alphabetical order? That's really weird. So anyway, by default, you'll see a list of the various GameMaker asset bundles. If you want to download one and use it in your project, what would be a fun one to use as an example here? So there's a lot of audio, which is never not useful if you're, like, not musically inclined the way I'm not. There's some various, like, tower defense assets. I believe this is, like, fancy, like, fire and explosion effects and stuff. That sounds fun. Let's install the VFX Elemental package. This is going to basically download it from GameMaker's, like... I don't want to call it the marketplace because it's unclear to me so far exactly how this is going to relate to the GameMaker marketplace, but it's going to take a minute and download the packages to whatever your GMPM folder is. That's the GameMaker Package Manager, and then you have the option to uninstall it if you'd like for whatever reason. You can install a different version if you need to roll back for some reason. Pretty much everything in here, okay, exactly everything in here is for the moment version 1.0. I'll come back to that in a minute. It does bear mentioning that in the preferences window, you can go and that's GMRT. Where's the package manager? Package manager. In the preferences window, this should all be set by default, but you can change the location where packages install to. By default, it should go in a GMPM folder in your user folder, in your documents folder, but you can put that somewhere else if you'd rather, like, put it on an external drive or something. GMRT can be installed through the package manager, but that is going to involve some more configuration, which I'll get into some other day. Is there anything else in here for now? I guess not. So you can see I've gone and installed a number of other packages beforehand. I was playing around with this. If you click on one of these, it will open up like a mini asset browser of its own. So we've got a sprites folder, and then we can go into like the animated VFX folder, and then you can pick the particular sprite which relates to this package that you'd like to include in your project. Let's pick a fun one. So explosion with buildup, explosion without buildup. If we play this little animation sequence here, we can see a bit of a preview of what we're going to get. So this is if you have played around at all with the various inspectors, the asset inspectors in GameMaker, what you'll see on the side here for each of these prefab assets is kind of basically a read-only version of that. So you can see all the properties of whatever you click on, the sprites, the audio clips in one of the Like, you can preview the sound. You can see the default targeting options down here. Anyway, once you've decided what asset or assets you'd like to actually add to your project, you can right-click and say duplicate the project to make it, like, to actually add it to your project. At the moment, and hopefully this will actually be fixed by the time you're seeing this video because it's kind of annoying, but sometimes when you say add something to project or duplicate something to project, it doesn't actually appear in the asset browser unless you, like... Will it work if I, like, search for it, if I put something in the search filter? Sometimes it won't actually appear in the asset browser until you, like, close GameMaker and reload your project. And, like, when you do that, then they'll appear. It's really weird and annoying, and by the time you're watching this video, I do hope that it'll actually be fixed. But I wanted to make this video this weekend so that I could make the joke at the beginning, and also because, like, the one I did last week was a lot of work, and I need to just do something easy right now. Anyway, once you have actually added these things to your project, you can basically treat them as any other asset in your project. You can have a look at, like, the properties. You can set the properties in the inspector, or if you double click them in the, like, in the old workspace properties form. You can call them in your game. So if I were to, for example, replace this funny accordion music with one of these, so if I were to say play the let's play the grasslands, or you know what, let's play the ocean sound. I like oceans. Let's audio play sound that. We can run the game. Okay, that's actually not quite as loud as I thought it was going to be, but we can hear some ocean ambience in the background. And we've got the duck footsteps, of course, playing when I walk around. All right, very nice. If you were to go back to the prefab library and add something else, for example, pixel protagonists, night death, night hit, night idle, night jump. Let's add night idle to the project. And is that going to add without complaint? I'm going to have to reload the project again to actually make it appear. Again, very annoying. Hope that will be fixed by the time this video goes up. If we go into the sprites folder, night, we've got this guy. And we can play that for some, to see the animation. I can set this to one of the NPCs, and that probably will, like, break any and all walking animations, but let's go and set the sprite from the dog to the knight. And we've got the knight in our project. Alright, that's actually less broken during, like, the walk animation than I thought. You just kind of, like, bounce around in the first couple of frames of that idle. So that's kind of exciting. Let's see, what else can we do here? So, if I go back to the package manager, in addition to just all of the GameMaker default free asset giveaway things, we've also got a few other things. If I select an asset that I already have installed, you will see that there is an update button, which is currently grayed out. If one of these assets were to actually be updated for whatever reason, so maybe like in one of these sprite asset bundles, there's like an animation error, or maybe there's like some clipping in one of the audio bundles or something like that, you would be able to just hit the update button. You'd be able to like re-download the changes. And I don't think we actually have the ability to put this to the test yet because none of these things have been updated at any point. But if you have added any of these prefabs to your projects, you should be given the option to automatically update them in your project without having to, like... You know how if you're using, like, Scribble or something and Juju makes an update to fix a bug or something like that, the best way to update is to delete the extension from your project and reload the new version. In theory, if you download something from the package manager and you want to update the version that you have in your existing project, you should be able to just do that. And there should still be a link between, like, the prefabinated assets and, like, the source in the package manager. Once we actually have the ability to make user prefabs or user package manager assets, I'll go into more detail there. Lastly, if you go into the drop-down up here at the top where it says package source, it'll default to the prefabs list, and that's just going to be, you know, all of these things. But there's also a couple of other options. There's localization. And this appears to be IDE translations, although that doesn't seem to be that useful to me because at the moment, like, if you want to change the language that your IDE is using, there's, that's computer languages. Where is it? It's, in general settings. Like, the IDE language is still, like, being shipped as part of the IDE installation itself instead of through the package manager. So it looks like the intent is to remove languages that you don't actually need from the base IDE installation and move them to the package manager instead. We've also got, in a similar vein, languages, which is not natural human languages, but computer languages. So if you want to play around with, for example, using JavaScript in GameMaker, which is going to be a whole subject of its own, but if you want to use JavaScript in the GameMaker new runtime, you can install that through the package manager. Currently, we are on version 0.0.6. For GMRT itself, we have GM tools, which is, I don't think something that you really need to like worry about most of the time. We've got project tool for upgrading and downgrading projects, and we've also got GMRT here. And this is if you want to install all of the various tool sets that you need for building with GMRT. You're going to want to install and update these. I believe a number of these actually have been updated over the years, but it looks like the old versions have been cleaned out with the package manager. Alright, so the runtime itself, you can still install the old versions if you'd like for some strange reason. Currently, we only have support for Windows and Opera GX, which I believe is this one. At some point in the future, it would be expected that there will be downloads for like Linux or Android or iOS here as well. Again, GMRT is a whole can of worms that I don't really want to get into right now, especially not while it's so like buggy and unstable. But if you do want to get going with that, you can install that through the package manager. There's also the option to add your own package sources, and it is not clear at all how this is like what you'd have to do if you want to be able to create your own user prefabs. I suspect that it should be possible if you have like a GitHub Pages website or something to just like punch in the URL here and set it up so that you can like download files from it. But again, nothing related to like how user created packages are supposed to work have really been concretely announced yet. So that's going to be a subject for some other day. So that's really all I have here. There's not a tremendous amount of stuff that you really can do with the package manager yet, but it is here. And if you do happen to actually use any of these free asset giveaways, then this is an easy and convenient place to, to get them from. I'm going to end things off here. So, my name is Michael. I like Wizards and Dragons and making games. I like to post videos on the weird stuff you can do in GameMaker. I like 3D stuff and shader nonsense and all that kind of bizarre things that people don't usually do with GameMaker. So if any of that appeals to you, feel free to subscribe. I have a Patreon, so if you want to contribute to the channel, links to that can be found in all the usual places. I look forward to seeing how the package manager ends up taking shape, and I hope you all do too. I hope you all enjoyed that, and I will see you all later. Special thanks to Zenjamin, VitroV, Squarecrow, Spy Die Games, Manta Ray, GameMaker, Edward Holt, and DJ Gibbles for supporting these videos. If you want to contribute to the channel, head on over to the Patreon page down in the video description to join the fun.